Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It's a young woman and her baby, and no one ever wants to see that.
Tragedy at a campsite. A mother and 5-month-old killed by a fallen tree on Vancouver Island. Plus, BC's wildfire season heats up. The number of active fires more than doubles as the province is hit with thousands of lightning strikes. And
it's one of those festivals where it's a lot of fun.
Dragon Boat disappointment. Organizers of Vancouver's Dragon Boat Festival say they're being forced to cancel next year because of the FIFA World Cup.
It has been a challenge just being able to explain to people why we can't run.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Yasmine Ghania. Thanks for joining us. BC is bracing for the impact on jobs and the economy after another jump in tariffs on some Canadian goods. U.S. President Donald Trump announced Thursday those tariffs would rise to 35%, up from 25%. As Mira Baines reports, trade talks are continuing this month, but concerns are ramping up.
The higher tariffs at 35% are effective today on Canadian products considered non-CUSMA goods, which only account for about 6% of Canadian exports to the U.S., according to a Royal Bank of Canada report. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the tariff hike yesterday, right before an August 1st trade deadline. The move piles on pressure on the Canadian economy, while the country is already affected by deep tariffs on lumber, steel, aluminum, and automobiles. The province is pushing for the federal government to deal with softwood lumber tariffs and duties urgently.
Forestry and duties need to be front and center in the debate around how to respond to the tariffs.
BC has also been focusing on trying to move more resource projects forward to grow the province's economy and tap into other international markets.
What we heard from our partners overseas is they want to do business with Canada more now than ever, because during this uncertain time in the world, Canada is still a beacon of certainty for them.
Dominic LeBlanc, the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, says the doors are not closed and the conversations are ongoing.
I would expect to talk to Howard Lutnick next week. He and I agreed that we'd get together in the coming weeks.
Still, even as talks continue, unions and businesses are reacting to the instability created by tariff talk.
The uncertainty means that we've had a reduction and a freezing of investment in many industries. And when you don't get investment, that impacts jobs, it impacts production.
And without a trade deal, there are big concerns over inflation and the impact on everyday spending for Canadians, as well as the possibility of retaliatory tariffs. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
To a tragic story on Vancouver Island, RCMP have confirmed a mother and her baby have died after being struck by a tree at a campsite. Marie Zeidler has more on the accident and the reaction.
I'm at Comox Lake in Cumberland on Vancouver Island at the scene of a tragic accident that took place. RCMP have confirmed that a 26-year-old mother and her 5-month-old son were here yesterday when a tree fell on them. The deputy fire chief has told me that people started performing CPR on both of them right away. Unfortunately, the mother died at the scene. The infant was transported to hospital but later died of his injuries. I've spoken with people who were here yesterday who say it wasn't windy, but it has been hot and dry in this area over the past few weeks. The fire chief has told me essentially this is just a freak accident and these two people were in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is a busy, popular lake in the summer, but it is very quiet here today. The community is absolutely shaken by this incident. Here's Cumberland Mayor Vicki Brown.
Just really sad for the family. It was a young woman and her baby, and no one ever wants to see that. And this is on top of the wildfire that happened, a week ago, and previous to that, a 17-year-old who lost his life at Devil's Ladders. It's been a hard summer.
RCMP say they're still investigating how this incident unfolded. The family is not commenting at this time. Marie Zeidler, CBC News, Cumberland.
Nearly 30 firefighters knocked down a huge blaze in West Vancouver. It happened around 10 a.m. Friday at a home in the British Properties. The West Vancouver Fire Department says heavy smoke and flames were coming off the roof. It says the roof design and structure of the house made access difficult. The BC Wildfire Service arrived by helicopter and determined the fire was contained to the house.
And focus was on exterior operations to protect the wildland interface and other exposures that were happening around the scene. We have some slope aspects to the south and some geographic issues with the residents in general, so we just wanted to keep it sort of safe for all our crews.
The fire department says there was one person at the house at the time of the fire, but they were already outside when crews arrived. Well, traveling this BC day-long weekend could be busier than ever. Airports and ferry terminals are expected to see record numbers of passengers over the next 3 days. As Saurabh Sandhu reports, planning ahead may save you last-minute headaches.
For their friend's wedding on Pendra Island, Vaughn Ridman and his friends booked their ferry ride 2 months ahead of time.
We're sitting here in the grass, chilling, enjoying the sun.
But there are several others at Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal on Friday afternoon who are depending on just their luck to board the vessel.
We just are winging it and decided to drive up and see what happens.
I've only missed two sailings so far, so not too bad.
BC Ferry says the long weekend is its busiest of the year and it's anticipating a 5% increase in vehicles and a 10% increase in passengers on routes between the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island compared to an average summer weekend. It says all vehicle reservations on major routes are full and travelers without bookings are urged to consider off-peak times.
My smart friend here, she walked on the ferry and I came to pick her up. So she's not worried about a ferry fare with a car because you can always get on a ferry if you're a walk-on.
Vancouver International Airport is also seeing an increase in numbers. Approximately 360,000 travelers are expected to keep staff busy this weekend, an increase of more than 7% compared to last year.
Our top destinations for the BC long weekend are Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, and Montreal. And then San Francisco is actually rounding out the top 5 as our 5th busiest destination.
Over at Peace Arch border, the day started with long wait times for those heading south. But this duty-free shop owner says the long lineups does not necessarily mean increased traffic.
The traffic lines have increased a little bit, but that's also due to the time and wait of people crossing the border.
Raju says the majority of those crossings are U.S. travelers, which doesn't translate into more traffic for businesses like his that depend on Canadian travelers. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
To Ottawa now, where opposition MPs are grilling the federal government over a federal loan to BC Ferries to be used for Chinese-built vessels.
We can stop this loan by the Canada Infrastructure Bank, and we can go to the table with BC Ferries and plan to do it and support our steel and aluminum workers here and shipbuilders here in this country. Are you standing by the loan?
The longtime Conservative from the Okanagan continued to grill Federal Transport Minister Chrystia Freeland about the $1 billion loan to BC Ferries. The loan will help pay for 4 new electric diesel ships, but in China. BC Ferries says no Canadian company vied for the contract. Freeland says she's dismayed over the loan, but did not say she would reject it. The organizers of Vancouver's Dragon Boat Festival say they are being forced to cancel next year's races in False Creek. It's all because of rules surrounding the FIFA World Cup. As Kier Junos tells us, Dragon Boaters are feeling let down.
The waters on False Creek will be much quieter next June because Vancouver's premier dragon boating festival will not be happening. The organizers of the Concord Pacific Dragon Boat Festival say it's been canceled because of the 2026 FIFA World Cup hosted at BC Place.
For the dragon boating community, it's a gut punch.
Well, it's quite disappointing for dragon boaters, certainly. It's quite disappointing. It's a really huge festival. It's something that people come to train for. Teams get together just for that event.
I was disappointed because the Concord Pacific Dragon Boat Festival is one of the qualifiers to go into the World Cup, and it can be quite competitive.
Dragon Boat BC's Dominic Lai says Vancouver's festival is one of the most preeminent boat races in the world, with teams coming from all over to paddle hard and fast in False Creek.
Let's do this, guys!
But Vancouver's biggest boat race is paddling in the shadow of BC Place and the FIFA World Cup. Lai says Vancouver's host city agreement with FIFA prohibits cultural and sporting events during a certain time frame across the city and restricts events within a certain radius of the stadium.
We tried to come up with alternate solutions, and we presented these solutions to the city and the province, but ultimately we still haven't gotten any confirmation of any type of support for it, and we're in a tough place.
The city of Vancouver didn't make a spokesperson available for an interview, but told CBC News in a statement it's, quote, working with event organizers and FIFA to minimize impacts as much as possible, and it expects most annual events to go forward with some adjustments. BC's Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture was also unavailable for an interview, but the ministry said in an email it's aware of the World Cup's impacts and it appreciates how difficult those adjustments can be. But Lai says the impact of adjusting means Dragon Boat BC faces a big financial deficit and poses existential questions.
FIFA is a behemoth. It will do what it does. It's the world's largest sporting event for a reason, and they have a standard of excellence that they need to deliver on. We understand that. We're not trying to get in the way. We just want to make sure that we can continue to exist to serve our community after FIFA leaves.
But as of now, there's only room for the biggest boat in town. Kier Juneau, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC's fire season has picked up significantly. In the last 24 hours, the number of active wildfires has more than doubled. Arjana Bailon is here, and she brings us the latest on the fires. So how did the fires increase so quickly?
Yeah, so what we're hearing is that this is due to thousands of lightning strikes over the course of those 24 hours. The BC Wildfire Service says more than 35,000 lightning strikes occurred on Wednesday and Thursday this week, and more are expected. Now, that's brought the number of wildfires from 61 on Thursday to about 140. Yasmine?
So what are some of the notable wildfires burning right now?
Yes, so there are several. On Vancouver Island, northwest of Nanaimo, there's the Wesley Ridge fire, burning around 125 hectares and out of control, meaning it's spreading or expected to spread. There's an evacuation order for properties north of Cameron Lake and an evacuation alert for properties northeast of the lake. Now in the interior between Peachland and Kelowna, there's a Drought Hill fire. As of this morning, that fire is being held, meaning it's not expected to grow further. There was an evacuation order on Wednesday for about 400 properties, but as of today, everyone has been allowed to return home.
I just got home. We got home 10 minutes ago, literally.
We didn't know what we were coming home to, and we were so happy to be coming home to a home.
Lovely. Lesson learned, and things to maybe obviously have your go bag ready to go. And it's not necessarily just for the fires. I think it's for any emergency.
There's also a wildfire near Lytton, about 10 kilometers south of the village. The Cantilever Bar wildfire has been burning since Monday, and it's grown to about 1,200 hectares as of this morning. 2 properties in the Lytton First Nation are under an evacuation order. And in the Fraser Valley near Harrison Hot Springs, specifically on the east side of Harrison Lake, there's the Bear Creek fire. It's about 124 hectares, currently out of control. Evacuation orders and alerts are mostly affecting campsites on the lake. And, now heading into the long weekend, the BC Wildfire Service is reminding people of the province-wide ban on Category 2 open fires. Campfires are also banned in most of the Coastal Fire Center. They say the potential for new wildfire starts is still pretty high. Yasmine?
Thanks, Jana. Well, let's bring in our Steve Jung now for a first look at the weather. What do you got for us?
Well, Yasmine, we were talking about lightning just now, and even earlier today, we saw a number of lightning strikes across BC. These red lightning bolts here, those are the places where lightning struck. And it's in those areas where lightning is predicted to strike, but no rain is in the forecast that have the most potential for additional wildfire starts, according to BC Wildfire Service. Now, across parts of the province, these ones here outlined in yellow in the north, northeast, as well as in the southeastern parts of the province, these are the ones that are currently under a severe thunderstorm watch. We're expecting more lightning to strike over the weekend, as long as we're also expecting some scattered showers over the weekend. More on the forecast coming up.
Thanks, Steve. Well, coming up, concerns at the pool, why reservations are still a thing at the kids' pool, and why there's worry that high-performance athletes are losing out on pool space. That's next. Stay with us. With summer in full swing and the weather heating up, you might be in luck this weekend to cool off at some local beaches. Vancouver Coastal Health says swimming is once again allowed at most city beaches after it was restricted because of unsafe E. coli levels. Those sites now that are open are Kitsilano, Spanish Banks, and Wreck Beach. There are still a few that remain under advisory. Stanley Park's Third Beach and Trout Lake in East Vancouver both remain unsuitable for swimming. The water quality at Jericho and Ambleside beaches are under investigation. Changes are coming to Vancouver's outdoor pools this summer, but not to a much debated reservation system. As Michelle Gomez reports, the community has mixed reaction to the news.
The city's park board announced Thursday it will keep its outdoor pool reservation system, which allocates 80% of spots for reservations and 20% for drop-ins. The reservation system has been a controversial topic, particularly here at the Busy Kids pool. We asked swimmers their thoughts.
It's stupid. Why we need to do that? Because there is no need. It's people could come anytime they like and enjoy it.
I think it's fair because I think a lot of people come and they sit around all day.
I think it works well, but it is a little bit of a barrier to access.
I don't actually have any issues with it.
I think there was a time and a place for it, but it takes away the spontaneity of coming to the pool, and as a result, most people that like to swim here, if they can't get a reservation, they don't try and drop in.
Park board commissioners have also had mixed opinions.
We need to open up the reservation system so more people can just walk in, and it's fair to everyone.
People who are coming from other parts of the city, people who have kids, appreciate the certainty of knowing that they have a reservation slot and being able to show up and know that there's a guaranteed spot for them.
The city has also announced drop-in rates for outdoor pools will be discounted 50% for the final 45 minutes of pool sessions, and Kitsilano's afternoon sessions will be merged to run from 3 to 8:30 p.m. These changes all take place starting next Tuesday. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
As Summer McIntosh dominates the pool at the World Aquatics Championships, her success is inspiring young swimmers. But as Lindsay Duncombe explains, aging pools in Canada could mean they might not have a place to train.
McIntosh takes another gold medal for Canada. She is Canada's queen of the pool, inspiring young swimmers across the country. But as Summer McIntosh racks up world records, there's concern the next generation of athletes won't have a place to swim.
We just have a facility crisis that isn't sustainable to maintain the numbers that we're seeing.
Take the Vancouver Aquatic Centre. Like many pools across Canada, it was built in the 70s and needs to be replaced. The city's Parks Board plans to replace the 50-metre pool with a 25-metre one. Both Ginny Lowe's daughters swam here with the Dolphin Swim Club.
But in a 25-metre pool, that's much more compacted, and it's likened to trying to swim in a sardine can. So you just do not get the training lengths that you would.
People lined up to protest the plan, but in the end, the city says it just doesn't have the cash or the space to build a bigger pool.
There's a reason why private-owned gyms don't have pools. It's because they lose money.
This former park commissioner explains pools with hot tubs and gyms attract more users and user fees than long lanes do.
The park board is struggling with trying to make sure they get the biggest amount of use out of that space.
It's a concern across the country. Swimming Canada says 3 universities, Acadia, Victoria, and Laurentian, have all closed their pools, and Toronto schools are considering cutting pools to save costs. Fewer pools can mean longer waits for lessons and fewer swimmers.
There's no more recreational swimming. There's no more therapy swimming. There's no more senior drop-in programs, no more life-saving programs.
Swimming officials say investing in pools is about much more than heroes and gold medals, and they hope McIntosh's success reminds Canadians of that. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Sunny skies hitting the peaks of Apex Mountain, but across the Okanagan, plenty of storm clouds and some intense rain in some parts as well. Steve Jung has a look at your holiday weekend coming up. Canadian officials say they are not walking away from trade negotiations with the U.S. Talks will continue even though President Donald Trump made good on a threat to increase tariffs on some Canadian goods as of August 1st. David Thurton has the latest.
With a key deadline pass behind closed doors in Ottawa and Washington, top officials continued the work trying to land a deal.
If yesterday afternoon that deal wasn't clearly on the table, then we'll continue to talk to the Americans.
More negotiations after Donald Trump made good on a threat.
Look, we like Canada. I love Canada. I have so many friends in Canada. But they've been very poorly led. They've been very, very poorly led. And all we want is fairness for our country.
Trump signed an executive order increasing the tariff on Canada from 25% to 35% effective Friday. The border tax applies to goods that are non-CUSMA compliant. The White House falsely claiming fentanyl and illicit drugs are flooding from Canada to the U.S. In a statement last night, the Prime Minister said the Canadian government is disappointed but remains committed to CUSMA. Mark Carney spent much of the day at his office, a day of meetings and briefings, amid questions whether there could be a call between him and Trump. But concern remains with sectors hard hit with the new and existing tariffs.
We've got the sectoral tariffs on Canadian automotive. It's got exports down 25 to 35%, depending on which car company. Those are real people's jobs.
Steel producers are calling for retaliation.
We're asking the government to take action against U.S. steel that we do make, and to take that action in a significant and very timely way.
For his part, LeBlanc signaled action is coming.
Our focus is going to turn to what we need to do to ensure that key sectors of the Canadian economy, steel, aluminum, automobiles, lumber, are able to go through this difficult period.
For now, LeBlanc heads home with a split focus, supporting Canadian industry and securing a deal. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
So even though the tariffs are in effect, what remains uncertain is whether softwood lumber will be included in any future trade deal with the U.S. As Katie DeRosa reports, one industry analyst is skeptical that will happen.
U.S. President Donald Trump's next move on tariffs for Canada could prolong the pain for BC softwood lumber producers and forestry-dependent communities. As negotiations in Washington continue, producers have no idea if any trade deal will include softwood lumber. BC Premier David Eby and 6 other premiers think it should. They've sent a letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney pressing him to include softwood in the talks. But that's not been the case in previous trade deals like NAFTA or CUSMA. The U.S. has already raised anti-dumping duties on Canadian softwood lumber to over 20%, up from 7%. Combined with other duties, that could bring the levies on softwood lumber to nearly 35%.
Our softwood lumber industry has been under attack from the U.S. for the better part of almost 2 generations now with unfair duties. There's a potential for a win-win here. We just want to make sure it's on the radar of the Prime Minister.
The leader of BC's official opposition says Eby has been pinning the blame on Trump for the province's forestry woes, instead of considering his own policies.
Making it difficult to get permits, making it next to impossible to actually get access to fiber. The forest sector has been absolutely decimated, and now he's blaming Donald Trump.
One industry analyst has little hope for any sort of resolution to this decades-long dispute.
So much confusion, so much at stake. When it comes to softwood lumber, it's always been sort of outside of a lot of the NAFTA talks. I'd be very surprised if lumber was included in this go-around.
As bad as this all seems, it could get worse. The U.S. has launched a national security review into Canadian softwood imports. A tough backdrop for Canadian negotiators, whether the deadline changes or not. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
A new U.S. jobs report has Donald Trump fuming. It's much weaker than expected, so he's fired the head of labor statistics. As Peter Armstrong shows us, it's part of the economic uncertainty fueled by the trade war.
From the opening bell, investors ran for cover, worried that Donald Trump's tariff plan may be causing more damage than they thought. But the tariffs weren't the only thing driving uncertainty.
This was a stunner of a report.
Job creation last month slowed by much more than expected. Experts say that's not even the worst part.
What really grabs you by the throat here is that we had downward revisions for payrolls, making for a total loss of 258,000 jobs in May and June.
All told, the U.S. economy added just 19,000 jobs in May and 14,000 jobs in June, way below the monthly average. That doesn't exactly square with the message from the White House that the economy was booming in spite of tariffs.
What we are watching is President Trump rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world and simultaneously proving the so-called economic experts wrong at every turn.
Trump dismissed the jobs numbers as rigged in order to make him look bad, and he fired the person responsible for the jobs report.
I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election. And there were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her. Right. And you know what? I did the right thing.
But it's not just jobs. Trump's tariffs weighed heavily on corporate earnings released by some of the biggest companies in the country this week. GM's profits fell by $1.1 billion in the first 3 months of the year. Ford reported an $800 million tariff hit and posted its first quarterly loss since 2023. And Apple says tariffs cost it nearly $2 billion through the first half of the year. Still, the White House is holding firm.
Look, this jobs report isn't ideal.
This trade advisor admits U.S. immigration policy upended the jobs market, and the tariffs did cause some uncertainty. But
that uncertainty is resolved. The tariff rates are set. The one big beautiful bill is law. It's going to get better from here.
As the calendar changed from July to August, crossing some Atlantic provincial borders has become cheaper. That's after a federal announcement this week designed to stimulate the regional economy. The move is being welcomed by both travelers and businesses. Shayna Luck has the story.
At the Route 16 diner on New Brunswick's side of the Confederation Bridge, they know all about the effect the bridge tolls have on their business. The owners freeze and sell their meals in many other locations, but never in nearby PEI. That's about to change.
We sell all over eastern New Brunswick, a little bit in Nova Scotia, but we couldn't sell in Prince Edward Island because it cost so much to ship it over.
As of today, the cost of crossing the Confederation Bridge from PEI to New Brunswick has dropped by more than half. The cost of federally funded ferries that link Atlantic Canada has also been cut in half. Business leaders believe the move will bring costs down and exports up.
The high bridge tolls have really acted as an interprovincial tariff, so to speak, between the two provinces, increasing the cost of transport and final cost of goods on both sides.
The change makes good on a campaign pledge by the Prime Minister.
If we're going to build a stronger, more united economy, and we are doing that, we are going to need to make it more affordable to travel around this country.
And on the eve of the August long weekend, road travelers are getting ready to go.
Obviously it's better when the thing that you want to do is cheaper. I assume they're doing it to coerce people to travel around Canada. So it's working on me.
Travelers by sea say the same.
It's actually great because they weren't cheap before, but now they're half decent.
Certainly for like a family of four like us, it's a lot more affordable.
Oh yeah, we're actually talking about going a little farther next year, maybe, once I get a little bit older. And cheaper trips mean more trips.
The federal government believes the move will save Canadians about $100 million in bridge and ferry fees per year, money it expects they will use to stimulate the economy by spending in other places. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
Heavy downpours and flash flooding are disrupting rail and air travel along the U.S. eastern seaboard. The threat of flash floods prompted New York's governor to declare a state of emergency for some areas, including New York City. Over 12 centimeters of rain is expected from the city Friday, with rainfall rates that could exceed 5 centimeters per hour. Flash flood warnings were also issued for parts of the northeastern urban corridor, including Philadelphia, Wilmington, Delaware, and Newark, New Jersey. To the Middle East now, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff made a rare visit to Gaza, touring a controversial aid site. This comes as Israel faces intense pressure over the growing hunger crisis. Our Susan Ormiston reports from Jerusalem, and a warning, some of the images in her report are distressing.
A 13-year-old boy killed trying to get food. Ryan Al-Fakwi died near the Shakush Aid Distribution Center in Gaza, according to his uncle Saman. He told his mom he wanted breakfast and there was no breakfast. He went to get aid, some flour. The uncle told us the boy got caught up in shooting at the aid center. 2 people with 1 shot. The bullet went right through one guy's head and ended in the other's chest, in Ryan's chest. This was the same destination for the U.S.'s Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff, traveling in a heavily armored convoy, dispatched to Gaza to report back on conditions, to shore up optics that Donald Trump is doing something to improve humanitarian aid from a controversial system backed by Israel and the U.S. Unconvincing for Palestinians like Abdullah Asfour, injured at Shakush. As soon as Witkoff came to the area, he said there was random shooting. Also planes and helicopters. At the very least, some Palestinians were able to get meager foodstuffs. But the worsening food crisis and images of emaciated children has ricocheted across the world, building immense pressure on Israel. Witkoff met Thursday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in an attempt to get more aid in and ceasefire talks back on track. There are signs of a shift, with one of the largest airlifts of food dropped from the sky on Friday, but it's still rare and dangerous to get to it. And Friday evening, Hamas picked up on the starvation messaging, releasing an alleged new video showing hostage Aviatar David showing his thin frame, warning they eat what we eat. CBC News can't independently verify when the video was recorded. Hamas says it won't return to negotiations until aid flows freely. Israel denies it is starving any Palestinians, saying the aid centers are working, but clearly hunger has become a volatile pressure point in this conflict. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Jerusalem.
It's time to roll out the red carpet for Vancouver's newest professional sports team. We meet some of the stars with the new PWHL team next. Vancouver's PWHL team is getting ready to hit the ice for their inaugural season in just a few months. The city's team was chosen earlier this year as the 7th franchise in the league, and our Michelle Morton had a chance to catch up with some of the players.
Surrey's own Jen Gardner says being back in Vancouver to compete on the ice is a full circle moment after playing her rookie season with Montreal.
You get to play in front of the people who have been a part of your village your entire journey.
But she says she's also excited to play in front of BC fans after seeing their excitement back in January when she played against Toronto during the PWHL Takeover Tour and 19,000 fans packed a sold-out Rogers Arena.
I think we can anticipate that that's what every home game is going to be like here in Vancouver, and it's going to be intimidating for any team to walk into and have to play against that, but a huge advantage for us.
In April, the Professional Women's Hockey League confirmed the expansion to BC, with the Vancouver Angels U11C2 team announcing the news.
Today, we are so excited because right here in Vancouver, we got a team!
The team, which still doesn't have a name, will play out of the Pacific Coliseum and will be the anchor tenant. One hockey legend says this new home is important.
It's something so unique, and it's something, a little bit of clout that we have here in Vancouver because we're the only franchise that has that.
Gardner says the entire team isn't settled here just yet, with some players still training in their hometowns.
We've kind of had a good core group in and out of Vancouver and skating together and getting to see each other.
Gardner's advice for the younger generation of girls dreaming of playing professional hockey one day is just have fun.
That concept is just something that it can now become a reality for all these younger girls, and now it's not a dream of playing for the Vancouver Canucks with the Sedins like I once had. It's now you can dream and you can play on PWHL Vancouver, which is the most special part.
The 2025-26 season schedule isn't out yet, but training camp kicks off in November. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
To bend it like Beckham is to score a particular type of soccer goal, and it's also the title of an inspirational sports movie from 2002. And now, 23 years after the original release, its director says there might be a sequel coming soon. Our Lawrence Watt met up with Vancouver Rise to find out what the movie means to the young soccer players and who can best bend it like Beckham.
For years, the phrase "bend it like Beckham" referred to how you kick a ball.
Beckham, room to shoot. David Beckham! Oh, goodness me!
Then in 2002, a film by the same name looked to bend cultural expectations.
That was brilliant, really good.
Yeah, almost as good as a man.
Bend It Like Beckham was a film about a teenage girl in West London chasing her dream of playing football, or soccer, whatever you want to call it. The film inspired a generation of players and helped push women's soccer into the mainstream. So we're asking players on Vancouver Rise, what did this film mean to you, and which player can actually bend the ball best?
Hi, I'm Mariah Lee, and I play forward for Vancouver Rise.
Over the last decade, we've seen such an expansion and growth when it comes to women's soccer. What's your take on that? What does it mean to you?
I think the growth of the game is just huge. From when I was young, the opportunities that are here now, you really can't compare it. I think that having a league in Canada is growing the domestic players, but also I'm an international, and it's helping us too. So I think that just as the game gets bigger, the level around the world is going to continue to increase. I just remember going to sleepovers with my soccer teammates, watching the movie. It was really iconic. It was really funny, and it was cool to see women and girls playing soccer. So growing up, there weren't that many opportunities because we could see the national team during the Olympics and the World Cup, but outside of that, we really didn't know about the levels that you could go to within women's soccer. But in the movie, she ended up going to Santa Clara, and I went to Stanford, and so that was part of my awakening to like college soccer, was learning about all of the schools. And so I know someone who went to Santa Clara just because they saw it and Bend It Like Beckham. And so having that rivalry in college soccer was really huge, and so it's just funny that it's a full circle moment. Yeah, I think my first college game against Santa Clara, I was like, it's from Bend It Like Beckham. And so it's just really funny because that really does influence young girls.
There's news now about Bend It Like Beckham 2 coming out. Are you excited about that? How do you feel?
I'm really excited for Bend It Like Beckham 2. I heard Emma Hayes, the U.S. national team coach, is collaborating. So when you watch the movies back, you're watching the soccer part and you're like, wow, this is terrible. But hopefully they can have better soccer skills, because as a soccer player, you notice that. And so that'll be really cool to see.
I'm Felipe Vallejo. I'm the communications lead for Vancouver Rise FC.
Talking about the impact of this movie, what are your thoughts about this film?
Yeah, growing up, this was one of my favorite films. I feel like soccer in general wasn't a very Hollywood thing growing up, and to be able to see a movie about soccer was massive. And then I think the biggest thing for me, growing up as a boy, was that it showed that girls can play too, and that girls can play well, and that they have, potential for careers. And even though back then we weren't really able to see what that necessarily looked like in terms of the pathway, now being able to be a part of a team where you see that pathway being created, and you see young girls aspiring to be professionals and being able to see their own heroes showcase that, I think is a massive thing. And it goes to show that, soccer really is for everyone.
So we're going to play a game of which Vancouver Rise player can bend the ball best. Next to me is a soccer net. At the top corner of the goal, we're going to attach a basketball-like hoop, and the Vancouver Rise players are going to be tasked with trying to hit the hoop. The first one to do so wins the game. Jessica approaching the ball. Oh, so close. Anais stepping up to the ball. Here she goes. Oh, so close. Had some dip, but just over the crossbar. Jessica going up to the ball. Oh! That's it. That's it. Jessica, how did that feel after we've been shooting for a bit here? How did that feel to see the ball hit the hoop there?
Honestly, it felt really relieving. Make sure that we can do it, which is we're happy that we can actually get it to bend. We do it all the time, but I guess the camera made us a little shy today, but we got it. No, felt good.
That's like me with journalism. The camera's on and I can't find my words.
Exactly.
Now, I understand you're right-footed, but you shot that one with your left.
Yeah, I think from a young age, I had so many coaches that said you gotta shoot with both feet. So honestly, I think my left is as strong as my right, but I guess I proved it on camera today, which is nice.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. So Jessica DeFilippo is the champion of our challenge, and proof that while the sequel to Bend It Like Beckham is on its way, the legacy of the original lives on. Lawrence Watt, CBC News, Vancouver.
Steve's back, and before we get to weather, I just want to say that was such a good piece. Does this make you want to watch the sequel if it comes out?
I really should after I watched the first one, because I played soccer when I was younger, but I was such a bad soccer player that I don't think the film would have inspired me to be that much better anyway. But I'm interested in seeing how the story progresses.
Sure. Okay, what do you got for us now?
Well, unfortunately, we do have some bad news for a good chunk of the province. We see on this map here the areas outlined in yellow in northeastern BC, as well as parts of the southern interior and the central interior, as well as in neighboring Alberta. These areas outlined in yellow are where there are still severe thunderstorm watches. We're expecting more lightning strikes this weekend, and it's in those areas where there is lightning predicted, but no rain in the forecast that could have the potential for additional wildfire starts. But if we take a look at temperatures and conditions for this evening, mostly cloudy skies across much of the province, some chance of showers in eastern and northern BC, and there we see it right there. Those are the places where we have the risk of thunderstorms. That's where lightning strikes are predicted to happen this weekend. On the south coast here, temperatures mostly hovering in the mid-20s. We do see 32 degrees in Lytton. And as we get to Sunday, temperatures holding pretty steady there. Again, Lytton is the hottest spot at 32 degrees, coolest western and northern tip of Vancouver Island. And we do also have some scattered showers in the forecast for much of the province, but it's when we get to midweek next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, where larger amounts of precipitation are expected to hit the province, especially in those areas in the southeast and in the north that have been affected by wildfires. Some smoky and hazy conditions for parts of the interior, central BC, and also in the northeast. Special air quality statements are in effect here. And let's take a look at the BC Metro Vancouver 5-day forecast here. Temperatures of highs in the low 20s here. And there it is, midweek, the chance of showers we've been talking about.
Thanks, Steve.
My pleasure.
The search for BC's best symbol continues, and the competition is simmering. After the break, we'll recap which symbol had a hard-fought victory to the final 8.
This is Vancouver is a new CBC podcast where we explore the issues, the stories, and the people that make this place home. Listen to This is Vancouver wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
CBC Musical Nooners are back. Don't miss free concerts every Wednesday at noon at the CBC Outdoor Plaza. Head to cbc.ca/musicalnooners for more details. And the search is on for BC's best symbol. The bracket is heating up as we hunt for the best icon to represent British Columbia. Be sure to vote for your favorites at cbc.ca/bestsymbolbc.
It was a competitive round 3, but now we're down to the last 8 entries in the search for BC's best symbol. Here to give us a recap of the week that was is Justin McElroy. So what are the last 8 entries?
Yeah, Yasmine, we went from 64 to 32 to 16 simples this week, but tens of thousands of people have voted. We're now down to the final 8. We had 8 winners, 8 losers. The winners in the animal section, we had the orca and the spirit bear. In the nature section, we had the dogwood and the red cedar, so those will go up against each other next week. Then we had the coastal and provincial simples, and there in the coastal, we had the totem and Northwest Coast art. In the provincial, we had the BC flag win and the Ogopogo win. So those are our 8 finalists. A lot of passion out there. Some of the votes very tight, as we'll talk about. And ultimately, one of these final 8 simples is going to be the one that we objectively, scientifically, officially call BC's best.
Yeah, and as you said, one matchup was super close. Which one was that?
And, you know, it just shows that every vote does matter here. The vote on Thursday between Terry Fox statues and the BC flag, well, it's almost closer than an election. Look at this. 16 votes separated the BC flag from Terry Fox statues. BC flag ultimately going and advancing. If this was an election, there would be a recount, but there's none of that here. And it just shows just how passionate people are on here and how close some of these matchups are. Will they be next week when we go down from 8 to 4? It's up to viewers to decide and vote.
Wow, that is intense. Thanks so much, Justin.
Thanks.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC. I will have your next local news at 11 o'clock right after the National.